Hey, welcome to the Breakthrough interview series. I am Meg Smithson, and I am a relationship repair coach, really helping people get out of their own way. And I have created this fun interview series to help really dispel the myth that there is such thing as overnight success, because there's no such thing. And I'm having fun and amazing people that I love to connect with you all and give you hope along your journey. So today I have on my good friend Kenny. Kenny, let them know who you are, what you're about. Go for it.
My name is Kenny Bigbee Jr. I'm a former Navy SEAL. My specific purpose is to help people to become their best selves. Short and sweet, I sum that up I call it the mantra of be elite. By be elite, I mean that you don't have to be the best, but you can never fail to give your very best. And what I specifically do is bring elite within reach. So the mindsets, the colloquialisms, the things that can really empower you. I just happen to teach exceptional martial arts. I just happen to teach tactics. And I also just teach elite achievement coaching to Fortune 500 companies, locally, internationally, and around the world.
Yay. Something else I was thinking about too is it's always fun to see how people connect. And I remember you and I connected. I don't know if you remember this or not, but we connected through a friend of yours who also knew me, who takes classes from you, and was like, oh my gosh, you need to meet this guy. You guys are similar. You do similar things. Da, 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 da. We connected. We hit it off, became friends, and then we were on stage together speaking. If you remember that, a while back.
Yeah. You invited me to that, and that was a great opportunity, and we had a really good time out there empowering other people.
So my favorite part of these are the battle piece, because it's the part that most people don't want to share enough of. They don't want. They want to share when they're already there. They don't want to share all the trenches, literally, that you've been through, to show them to where you're at now. So I want you to dive into some of your own battles that you faced, and then we'll get into a little bit further down the road how you got out of your own way there. So, because your story's so fun, so go for it.
Yeah, sure. I often find it hard to speak about myself, and that's kind of the nature of the job that we had. But some of the greatest challenges that I had was that, and I'll kind of sum it up in a big piece and then narrow it down to a more specific focus. So some of the challenges I had was that I wanted to become a Navy SEAL. Literally, in order to become a Navy SEAL, and I talk about that in getting people to become their best selves and having that dream. I was told that it was impossible and that it was implorable by my friends, by my family, and the military itself. So I was absolutely told that it was absolutely impossible and that I couldn't do it. So long story short, it's really challenging. Just to give everybody a perspective, just SEAL training by itself, if you have 100 people go in, 30 people will come out. So it's a 70% attrition rate.
Man.
As an African American, you only have about a 2% chance, period. So, and then when I went to go sign up, everything was looking good. They're like, he's in great shape. I had high test scores for the ASVAB, which tests intelligence and things like that. And then my eyesight did not meet the requirement. So then it was literally a 0% chance at that point.
Wow.
And people often ask me, why did I become a Navy SEAL? Essentially, it was I needed to test my mettle to see if I was willing to give the ultimate sacrifice, which was everything you had to give, my life, for what I believed in and who I believed in. I needed to test that mettle. So for me, family actually is big to me, but both, my mother and father, family also includes friends that are not blood, et cetera, or if I had started a family of my own. I needed specifically to know if I was worthy of having that. And by worthy of that, I mean, what is the level of sacrifice I'd be willing to do to sustain that, to substantiate that. So I decided to go test my mettle. I didn't want to try to give somebody something that I was not worth. So I wanted to make sure that I had the value of what I wanted to pay the price in order to achieve, which was the ultimate value, which is family. So I went to test my mettle, and I looked up the toughest military training, or the hardest thing you could do in the world.
Of course you would.
So, and that was SEAL training, and that was my dream, and that was one of the root reasons. Was I willing to do that for my family, my friends, my country? And for them to say no, that was very challenging. So I ended up having to find ways to overcome that 0% chance hurdle. Then as an African American, I only had a 2% chance. And then my odds increased just in general. You have a 30% chance of making it. So those were the best odds I had, a 30% chance. But as of what I knew at the time, I had a 0% chance of accomplishing my dream.
So tell them, because you've shared some of this stuff with me, for people who have never even heard about any type of Navy SEAL training, and they don't know that you also are friends with the crazy David Goggins, who is crazy, insane training.
Yeah.
What were think about 3 situations that were just the most almost defeating, or the hardest, or just almost seemingly impossible that you were able to get over, and the things that came up in your head while you were in them?
You know, I can remember a couple of them distinctly. One of them was, we had a large, it's called NDOC. So that's the class before you actually start the training. They kind of educate you. I didn't know how to swim properly. You would think that I would have those bases covered. I didn't know how to swim technically properly. And that was another major challenge before I went to the SEAL team. Well, on this day, we were doing something called surf passage. And at that time, there was a storm called El Nino. And during this storm, the waves were coming in rapid fire succession, and they were big, 15, 20 feet waves. So that's big for San Diego. So surf passage, you have to swim out through them and get past the surf to the calmer part of the ocean. So I was with my roommate, Danny Dietz, who was one of the 4 men on the secret mission, Operation Red Wing, that Mark Wahlberg played in the movie Lone Survivor. So he was one of the 4 men, and only 1 man survived. And that was RIP to my good friend and my roommate in SEAL training. And in SEAL training, you're never more than 6 feet from the person that you're with. I tell you that because when you swim out, you have to stay together. So Danny Dietz and I were going out, and the instructors told us, hey, when you pop back up, don't breathe in water, because there may be another wave and you'll inhale water and you could likely drown. SEAL training is extremely safe, but people do drown underwater and they resuscitate them. That happens often. That happens from time to time. So we were in wetsuits, which keep you warm. So then they instructed us to take off the wetsuits. And then, so now you're not warm. And they also give you buoyancy. They also help you to see direction where you're going. So when that wave hits you, you have the wave kind of crests, and then you got to go under the wave, and it'll cycle you out. So if you happen to get in the middle of that washing machine, the wetsuit will kind of give you buoyancy and send you to the top. So then they had us take off the wetsuit, which makes you extremely cold. You're in hypothermia. And then you kind of don't know which way is up if you get turned around. So then after that, they made us get down. They made us take off our shirts. Every little layer of clothing keeps you warm. So now we were just like in what they call in the Navy skivvies, right? So we're in our dukes, right? And then they said, if we were out there for hours and hours, and they're like, if anybody pulls their life vest, then you automatically fail. Now may have been playing with our heads, but they were trying to test everybody and get rid of the large volume of people. So we went out, and I remember thinking, I'm not failing. So I went under, a wave came over, and I got caught in the middle, and it literally scorpioned my feet, and my feet touched my head. I mean, it bent me backwards the wrong way. I didn't know which way was up. Then I came up, and another wave right away came down. So I was underwater for a minute and a half. I went to come up again, and then another one came down. And I needed breath really bad. I was running out of breath, and I just kept getting wave after wave after wave. On that third one, I was disoriented and I was swimming, and I was actually swimming down for a second because I got spun around in this wave and I had lost Denny Dietz. And it's like the cardinal sin to be more than 6 feet, because in the tactical world, that's where you can die. So you build a bond with them. You do everything together. You eat together. You sleep right next to the guy. He goes use the bathroom. You got to go, right? So I was underneath there, and I remember thinking, man, I'm going to die down here, because I wasn't going to pull the cord. I literally was like, I'm out of breath. There's not going to be a reprieve. I keep getting spun around. I'm going to die. And it was literally, it was like, I just remember going, God. And I literally, that's the only word that came out in my mind. I said, that was probably the most sincere prayer, one of the most sincere prayers I've ever said. It wasn't me being religious. It was more of a spiritual thing. I was like, dude, I'm about to die. You know what I mean? And that just came to, but it was the sincerity of it was there. I thought of my friends, and everything just crossed before my eyes. And then finally I ended up getting pushed out, and then came to the surface, and all I could hear was Dietz yelling out my name, Kenny, Kenny. And he had gone through the same thing, and he was looking for me. He was a solid guy. Obviously, that was proven in battle. When he took it to the end, none of those guys had any rounds, and they lost their lives. But they're a different breed of men. They're willing to face death, and that's kind of what I was doing there. I needed to know what, for a Navy SEAL, you have to be willing to do 2 things. You have to be willing to kill and willing to die for whatever it is that you believe in. And a lot of people say that, but very few human beings are willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice. So at 21, I was writing my will about what would happen if I died. So what's empowering about that is that most people's greatest fear is death. They don't realize it. That's why they try to create lasting impressions. That's why the Greeks make statues. That's why we do what we do, because we're afraid to be left behind or overlooked in life. So it's a unique experience, and it actually makes you live when you actually face your worst fear or your death. So in doing that I remember that time thinking, I'm going to die. All I had to do was pull the life vest. It would shoot you to the top. But these are men that literally would rather die than compromise their values. So that was one time in training where I was like, man, I literally actually thought that day I was going to die. I had a way out. The SEAL program is to test. It's totally voluntary. You can quit at any time. Like life, you can check out at any time. But they want to know, they want the people that want to be there in the very depth of the worst, of the heat of the worst circumstance. So the way I like to put it is, I get people to have peak performance under pressure. I get them to perform their very best on their very worst day. So, and the thing that I think that let me realize that is that there are other people that are not blood. There are other people with that value system that are willing to pay the ultimate price. So it was one of the most beautiful things that I've experienced, because I've met some of the most beautiful and the most empowering men. I met some really awesome men that you might not find that experience everywhere, where they're literally willing to put it all on the line. It's one of the most beautiful things I've experienced. It was also one of the most scary things that I've experienced in facing my death. But I went there just to do that. So that was one experience that was pretty wild.
Well, when you okay, let's say you said if you push the life vest, you would go up to the top. Would that mean you would surrender as a Navy SEAL, or you would still be, like, they would kick you out kind of thing? Is that what you were insinuating? Or
they play all types of mind games with you. To this day, I don't know if they were serious or not, but they said, if you go out there, because it was a real bad stormy day, and they said, if you go out there and pull your life vest, because the wetsuit again gave you direction and brought you to the top. So they said, if you pull your life vest, you're DOR. That's drop on request, meaning you quit. You voluntarily quit.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what they told us. So that's all we knew, and we took it seriously. We're like, well, I'm not quitting. I'd rather die than quit. And it was really enlightening and empowering. And like you talk about camaraderie and connection, I think you don't find a deeper connection than when you go through ultimate challenge with people. So they have a saying where they say, when you squeeze the fruit, then you know what the fruit is.
Yep.
So this is one of the best squeezing grounds. Adversity is one of the best. It's not that you need to voluntarily look for it. In some ways you do, what they call eustress in psychology, which is positive stress, or hormesis in exercise, short burst of stress that you seek out. If you don't test the muscle, it doesn't grow. If you don't challenge the mind, it doesn't grow. So in certain ways, challenge is what actually creates empowering change. So this was one of the best proving grounds to find the most empowering connections, camaraderie, and empowering change with people there. So yeah, they told us if you pull that ripcord, that you quit. And I remember when I made it outside there, and Dietz and I had reconvened, there was all these like bobber heads, boop, boop, boop. There was all these dudes just pulling their vest and they're getting washed back into shore. And you had a few men, probably we lost about 30 to 50 people that day that quit. They didn't want that life. So, but it was beautiful in the sense of facing the fear of death and knowing within myself that if I believe in something, someone, or a cause, my country, that I am willing to pay that ultimate sacrifice, and that there are other great people and great men and women that also have that inside them. One of the most beautiful experiences in my life, and also one of the most scary.
What's another one? I've heard you say them and they don't get old. So pick one more that you can think of that was like, oh my gosh.
Man, I'm trying to think. People always know, just in general, this is more of a general challenge. In Hell Week, at each phase, you have a major challenge that you have to overcome. So in every empowering opportunity, there's also a major challenge. They're one and the same. So they're two sides of the same coin. So SEAL training is literally like a reality TV show. So you go through these different phases and you have to pass these tests. And if you don't pass it, then you're done. And also your teammates vote to see if they want you to be there. So your reputation, we have a saying, the only easy day was yesterday. We don't rest on our laurels. You may have performed great yesterday, but if you don't perform today well, you're nothing. And it's every single day. All of your run times and swim times in the SEAL teams must consistently go down and improve the whole time you're there, or you end up getting kicked out. So it's about constant improvement. That is the whole culture. Well, one of the tests in first phase was Hell Week. Hell Week is 120 continuous hours of training physically without sleep. So you go from Sunday to Friday, and you get about 2 to 4 hours of sleep, which is not a blessing, because when you it's like Wednesday night. By Wednesday night, you're literally declared legally insane. You don't know what's going on. Your body. So it's got to be something within you. I think it's Wednesday night, you sleep about 4 hours. It's bad because then your white blood cells try to fix everything that you've destroyed. So your body just swells up and it just makes everything even worse. It's a challenging experience. And people just disappear. That's really where you kind of go in with 100 people and then go out with only 30 people on average. The whole point of that is that we can do it. It's a test to show people. It divides the wheat from the chaff. And it also lets people know that make it through it, you can do about 10 times more than what you ever thought was really possible. So it's resetting the mental belief, the mindset, the physiology. So once you do that, you kind of have that within you. And you don't know that until you face that adversity. But we all have the capacity. Anybody can do it. We all have that capacity. You just have to have a strong enough reason within you, something that you believe in that's valuable enough. So that was a huge challenge that all SEALs go through. And I like to tell people that people say, well, how did you do that? I couldn't do that. And I say every human being could do it, in the sense that courage is not a lack of fear. Courage is finding something of greater value than what it is you fear, and then fighting for that. So that's really what courage is. People that are courageous are just as scared. They are just as tired, but they have found something of greater value to them that helps them to be propelled and pulled in the face of that fear and adversity. So I think that was another experience that really uh, defined, challenging experience that really defined SEAL training that was life changing. It takes about 3 to 5 years off your life is statistically what they say. They say that it's the male version of childbirth is what they say.
What?
Yeah, like it's as hard as anything you could do as a male. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing that compare for a woman. You give birth, it's like one of the greatest pains, right? Well, this is one of the greatest pains you could go through. A test as a man.
So, okay, so clearly we've seen and heard of the battles that you face, some of them. So when it did get hard, how did you break up with that? Like I call it the inner bully, the thing that's in your head trying to hold you back, trying to keep you small, trying to prevent you from reaching your goal of being a Navy SEAL and getting through Hell Week and all the training and stuff. How did you combat that?
I had a lot of tools that I had established before I went there. So, for instance, I wrote out all my goals and I read them every single day. And I pretty much achieved each and every single one of them. So every morning I'd wake up and I'd read those goals. So what happened there was everything got put in perspective. Like I talked about, what was the value of what I believed in. And when it got hard, that would always resonate within me. I do something that I call the 5 whys. The 5 whys is everybody says find your why, but people really don't know how to get there. And often what I talk about is that we have lost as a culture an intelligence that goes beyond the mind. So what I did was find an intelligence beyond the mind, in the sense that the mind's job is self-preservation. So the mind says, hey, man, this isn't worth it. That's what it's designed to do. Hey, there's a pit. You could die. Let's walk another way. So its holistic purpose is self-preservation. Again, in the heart, we have something called sensory neurites. It's literally an intelligence in the heart. Again, in the colloquialisms of our nation and our culture, we say if there's 2 hard choices and you can't make up your mind, we say follow your heart. If that person continues past something that's extremely challenging, and mentally, anybody would say within good common sense of the mind, the logistic mind says the price that's paid is not worth what you're sacrificing. It's not worth the return on investment. Anybody with common sense would say that. When someone exceeds that or surpasses that, we say that person has heart. Again, the sensory neurites, I like to talk about the actual science of it. The vagal nerve and the vagal reaction is what syncopates all of the systems. It's a nerve that runs from the base of the brain to the bottom of the thorax, and it syncopates all the systems, breathing, cardiorespiratory, neurologically, with the mind. And again, your heart. So there's something in the fitness world called heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is how in tune your heart is with all the different ebbs and flows of your body, and that's done through the vagal nerve and the vagal reaction. So essentially what I'm expressing, visualize this conversation, for instance. So say you're talking to somebody and they're just going and you go, hey, I'm slapping in the face, and like they're not really paying attention, right? So heart rate variability is kind of like that. It's the person that's actually engaged, and you say something amazing, they're like, wow, and then you say something sad, you see them actually process that and feel that with empathy. So heart rate variability is the empathetic response to the heart to be in tune to what I call relevant to your body. So the heart has sensory neurites, meaning that there's literally like neurons in the brain and intelligence in the heart, and they communicate with each other. So your why is not found in the mind, because the mind's job is self-preservation. One of the specific purposes of SEAL training is to see one of the unique personality archetypes of Navy SEALs are people that will go beyond self-preservation, which is extremely odd and rare psychologically for any species, for any animal on the planet, right? The whole purpose is to continue on. That's why people want to have kids. They don't want to die. They create statues, they create books and memoirs. The whole purpose of the mind is self-preservation. The whole purpose of SEAL training kind of has a dual purpose, but we need to find the purpose of the person that will supersede self-preservation. So the heart handles that. What I mean is when you go down the rabbit hole of the 5 whys, so for instance, I ask people, well, I want this. I'll say, why? And then they'll say, well, because of this. And I'll say, why? Inevitably, what happens is you hit a sticking point. The sticking point is because your mind doesn't know why. It stops. It's like, I don't have any more logistical reasons. It doesn't make sense anymore. You'll just get stuck. And I'll say, why? When they answer the why, it's weird because, for instance, when I teach firearms courses, usually the answer, I say, why are you here? Well, I want to learn how to protect my family. Well, why are you here? Because I don't want to let bad guys do what they do or whatever. Right. Usually by the end of the whys, they say, I want peace of mind that my friends and family are safe, or peace. Usually it's peace. It's an emotion. It's weird. It's not a logistical thing. So you go down that rabbit hole, then you get stuck, and then you realize you don't want this superficial value. It's an emotional content value that's answered by the sensory neurites of the heart. And you know when you found it because they also now know that there's intelligence in the gut. So all of that is linked again through the vagal reaction and the vagal nerve. So when you find that answer, you feel like the butterflies, like when you meet somebody that enamors you, right? You'll feel the little butterflies in your gut. You'll feel a flutter in your heart. Like we talked about the heart rate variability, your heart, your mind and heart, there's a light bulb that went off and it all syncopates and goes, that's it. You'll know it when you find it, and it's moving, but it is perplexing to your mind. You're like, I never thought that's why I wanted it. For instance, I had a friend that said, man, I want to achieve my goals of fat loss and this and that. And he said, but I don't know why I can't do it. I just can't get the weight off. So eventually I had to, we had a conversation. I said, that's because that's not what you want. When we took him down the 5 whys, what he found out is he just wants to be healthy enough to be able to play with his kids and watch them grow up. So part of his root value was connection and love, things like that. So it wasn't weight loss. That was a superficial value. That's what he thought he valued. If you actually value something, you will pursue it. It will propel you. It will pull you. So he didn't really know the why. He knew the superficial idea that his mind had told him. When we went down the rabbit hole of the 5 whys, which is how you kind of discovered it, it's hard. It's not easy. It's weird, that breaking point. There's something in the body called the blood-brain barrier. And it's kind of like that with the intelligence of your why. So the blood-brain barrier, there's certain nutrients that can't make it to the mind and things. It blocks off things that shouldn't make it to the brain. Well, it goes the other way around too. The mind has these ideas that kind of have trouble connecting with the heart, and you got to get past that blood-brain barrier, the heart and the mind. So I tell people that that's hugely important. I say we have that colloquialism, and then I ask people, what do we do during the Pledge of Allegiance, or what did we used to do? And I say, you take off your hat, and where do you put it? Right? Where do we used to put it?
Put it on
Put it on the heart. Because patriotism, though it's logistic, right? You have to give up self-preservation for patriotism. So if you believe in a cause, if you value your country, if you value your people, the act of patriotism is that you have to forego self-preservation, which is not in the sole purpose of the mind. And in the West, we think the mind is the grand tool. The mind is not. It is a tool of tools. So we have to learn how to reawaken the colloquialisms, the knowledge of the ancient culture, of even our culture, that we knew how to use all the tools. And that's how I found my why. I went all the way down that rabbit hole of the 5 whys, and it takes time. Sometimes you get stuck for days, right? And oftentimes when you hit it, tears may come to your eyes. It's moving. Your body syncopates, it knows. And what happened was, I remember we were running, and our team wasn't doing good. We were fighting within the team. Teamwork is the most important thing in the SEAL teams. And the instructor started shoveling sand into this boat we were carrying. And we were doing S runs where there's a berm. And in that berm, you have to run over and above the sand. And then they kept shoveling sand in it because our crew was fighting amongst each other. And my legs, it's soft sand. It goes out every time you step on it. And my grip ran out. And I was like, I'm done. my brain said, I'm checking out because the price of this is not worth the return on investment. The way that I like to sum it up is that when you pursue something that you think of is of value, your brain, you ultimately hit a sticking point in adversity and you go, why in the hell am I doing this? When that question pops up, now that's your logistical brain go, why am I doing this? The return on investment is not worth the sacrifice I'm making. You will find that. You try to buy a house, you're running into problems, a relationship. It doesn't matter that you'll hit that point. 99% of the time. When you hit that point where your mind weighs the sacrifice based on the return on investment at that time, and it tries to check out out of self-preservation, if you don't have an answer for that why, then you quit. That answer does not come from the mind, it comes from the heart. So I had found that answer, that why within myself before I went. And when my mind checked out and my body checked out, my heart, the sensory neurites, the intelligence of the why in my heart helped me to supersede self-preservation. And that's what I needed to know. If I was going to start a family, if I was going to, for my parents, if I was going to meet a woman and start a family, I needed to know that I had the sacrificial value to pay for that family, because ultimately I believe that that's everything.
Well, it's so neat too to hear it from your perspective with the why, because it's something that I teach too, but it's a little bit different. It's not as scientific as what yours was. It's really neat to see that part from a training perspective for doing whatever you want to achieve in life. But the way I describe it is, as far as trying to find out your why on a much deeper level, is acting like a 2-year-old child and asking why. And then they say an answer, why, until it's like, okay, shut up. And sometimes it does take you longer to just keep going and diving in. But when you truly get to the roots of what makes your heart sing and what you truly want, then you'll be connected to something. And that's something that is so often left out of any type of coaching that I think is vital, just like with what you're saying and what you're trying to get the men and women that come in to coach with you. When they come in and they want to get stronger, but why? Yeah, they want to lose weight, but why? It's always connected to something deeper, especially for women. They don't want to just lose weight and look hot to look good in a swimsuit. They want to look that way because of they don't want their husband to leave, or they want, they don't want him to find someone else. They want to have an intimate relationship, all these different things. So it's so interesting because it is very unique to every person. Your reason of your big why for doing that is going to be so different than some of the other people that were there. So I think that's really, really cool. So, okay. So who are you becoming and what are you all about now?
What am I all about? For people that don't know, probably been better said at the beginning. Obviously, like you said, I had the great fortune of being featured in David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, about our challenging story in becoming Navy SEALs. And I also received the Ford Unsung Hero from Ford Motor Company, from giving back to my community and my challenging story of becoming a Navy SEAL. And that was given to me by Kevin off Entertainment Tonight. So that was a pretty cool experience. And that kind of alludes to who I'm becoming. So who I'm becoming is, it was funny because all my friends would go, man, you're like a ninja. And I was like, I'm not a ninja. And I watched like John Wick, like the movie, or like Born Identity. And I'm like, actually, that really is my life. Every day I wake up and do martial arts and shoot and do crazy stuff. But who I'm becoming now is, I had to accept that actually is who I am. Like I said, I was in Louisiana, and I often tell this story. I came out of the military and I couldn't find any work. I ended up waiting as a waiter and painting fences, and the money went out, right? So I had to go back into that field. And I was trying to avoid that field because in the SEAL teams, there's a 90% divorce rate on average because of the intensity of the life, the operational tempo and the demands. It's really, really hard, 90%. So I was trying to leave that behind because I had found someone that I thought, man, maybe we could build a family. So that was really the most important thing to me in my life. So I was trying to leave that life behind because they didn't seem like they cohesed well. And then I ended up back down there. I was like, man, I was trying to leave this life behind. I wanted to live a normal life, but I'm just not a normal guy. To be a Navy SEAL, we talk about personality archetypes. There's a normal range in a spectrum in psychology. So in order to be, then there's people on the fringes, right, of the normal range of personality archetypes. To be a Navy SEAL, you're not in the normal range of a personality archetype. It is not normal to want to sacrifice yourself voluntarily and give up self-preservation for something you believe in. That usually you have to be pushed to that point. Like somebody's threatening your mom or your child. He's like, yeah, I like to say we didn't know what the job was. It literally was basically, hey, you're going to have to be asked to do the most dangerous thing, the most daring thing, and the most difficult thing that you've ever experienced in your life. Like, cool, sign me up for that. That sounds good. Who does that? Nobody does that. So we're far on the spectrum if you were to diagnose personality archetypes. And I'm actually having to embrace that. And then why is that important? Because when I went down there, this guy said, man, I was trying to leave this life behind. And he looked at me, goes, unfortunately, man, I don't think you chose the life. I think the life chose you. This is your personality. This is at root who you were created to be. So what I'm doing is, like I said, who I'm becoming today is the man that brings elite within reach. People think that you're becoming your best is so far outside of their reach. What I'm doing is helping to bridge the gap between where people are. Like what I like to say is take you from where you are today to who you've always dreamed yourself to be as fast as possible. That's who I'm becoming today. So that's my end game. Peak performance under pressure. You have, so everybody can perform, right? But say you had 100 people, about 50% of the people perform if you look at stats. And then about 10% of people have peak performance. About 1 to 2% have peak performance under pressure. I like to show this example. There's a guy, he's not the best poker player in the world. When he gets on the table, he plays poker, he gets beat. That's with chips. When they put cash on the table, he beats all the best poker players in the world. Because now you actually see the cost. Again, the brain kicks in and goes, I need to preserve that money. I don't want to lose that. When it was chips, their skill set is higher, but they don't have the same connection of the mind to the sensory neurites of the why. When that self-preservation overrides their skill set. So you can have the skill set, you can have everything in the world, but if you don't have the right capacity and the right tools within your mind heart connection, then you won't be able to make it. So what I have helped people do is bridge that gap to actually have peak performance under pressure, to be your best under the worst day, and embracing that I am not of the normal personality archetype, and empowering other people from that position to get closer to releasing that capacity. So that's my specific purpose. And I like to sum that up to say I bring elite within reach. I just happen to do that by, again, teaching exceptional martial arts. I do that through mediums of tactical training, through elite achievement coaching and mindset training. But the most important thing is bridging the gap to bring elite within reach, to get people to become their best selves. The way I like to sum it up is I'm becoming the person that gets you to best yourself every single day. Every 24 hours you sign a contract. I had a friend of mine say that every 24 hours you sign a contract to become better than you were. Not a lot, just a little bit. And if you do that 1% each day, by the end of the year, you've come 360, right? So what I'm becoming the man, and I'm also demanding this of myself, right? So we have the same in the SEAL teams, that you have to lead from the front. A lot of times in the military, you'll have officers, and then the officers will stand and give orders. And the SEAL teams is not like that. You have to be the person doing what you're saying. We call it leading from the front, or you got to get out. So we respect leadership. We don't respect bosses. We don't respect rank. We don't salute. We don't do any of that. There's several reasons, but one of them is that your performance is what matters, what you do. So it's not a rank, it's not a title, it's not a position. You have to be actionably pursuing being better. And that's why we have sayings such as the only easy day was yesterday. That's not to be confused. Now, what I like to say is I help people become winners. And that's what I mean by we get you to best yourself until you become your best self. Now, a winner does not always win. As a matter of fact, statistically, winners lose more often than losers. So what do you mean by losers? Losers, I like to make a distinction between losing, failing, and defeat. So I say failing is when you didn't achieve an objective. That's not the problem. Okay. Defeat, defeat is when you no longer choose to learn and choose to act upon improvement. So failure and defeat are two different things. Yep. So you can fail all you want, but what I like to say is we are undefeated. By undefeated means it doesn't matter what happens. You can hit the bottom of the bottom, the low of the low. And you have to say, ask these questions. How can I learn? How can I grow? And then you have to take action. What can I do right now to improve? So we fail often. That's part of the process. Again, Winston Churchill said failure or success is going from failure to failure without losing. Yep. The only way you can do that is if you choose to learn and grow from each failure. You learn how to, essentially the way humans learn is you learn how to do it wrong until you do it right. Yep. And I like to say the key word is until. What is until? That means you just keep doing it until you make it, until you pass away or until you succeed. The key word is until. Socrates said there's not a problem with falling. Essentially, there's a problem with staying where you laid. So there's a huge difference between failure and defeat. So what I like to do is transform people's perception of actually failing and defeat. Because when people fail, when they don't hit the objective, they think that they lost. No, you only lose if you surrender the will to learn and the will to improve. So what I bring is the tools and the empowerment. Who I'm becoming is the person that empowers people to pursue their dream in the face of all odds and to actually gain those results in the face of adversity. And I didn't get to finish that statement. Winners don't win the most. They often lose more than the people that are defeated. The difference is what separates the winner is that the winner always gives their best. Yep. And sometimes your best is not a winning performance, but can't ask any more of someone than to give their best. At the end of the day, you know within yourself, did I give my best? Did you fall? You'll fall. I like to tell people that the only way that you can fall is if you stood for something. Did you reach for something? So if you stood and you fell, the only people that judge you when you fell are the people that are staying where they lay. Yep. So don't be afraid to fall. Don't judge yourself if you fall. What's most important is that you get up, you learn, you get up, and you pursue to become your best self until you reach that or until you run out of time. What else are we going to do while we're down here? We give it our best and you'll have peace of mind, peace of heart, and then empower other people to do the same.
Well, that's why you nailed it on the head in so many ways, but that's why I said, who are you becoming? It's not who you've become, it's an evolution. And if you're not continuing to work on yourself, never trust anyone that's not working on themselves anymore.
Right.
But it's a daily thing because you are the one leading. You're not the one bossing people around. And I've seen that in the way that you run your business, which is behind you, the way that you talk, the way that you share. I mean, you're very, very, very humble, and it shows in everything that you do. Like, you could be the person that brags and you're not. So I applaud you for that.
No, I appreciate it. I think I'm the fortunate one. Like you said, you have me here today, and I met you, somebody else that is always pursuing greatness. And just even what you brought up earlier. So you had an opportunity to speak, and then you gave me that opportunity. So you're always trying to help people to become their best. And with the tools that you know, and always seeking new tools and doing that. So I'm fortunate to know somebody like you.
Oh, thank you. Well, do you want to tell them where your studio's at so they can come check you out, or anything else before we wrap it up?
Sure. The centralized hub, if you want to reach me on any of the mediums through which I help people to become their best selves, is KennyBigbee.com. So if you go to KennyBigbee.com, you can actually check out if you want to do martial arts, if you're interested in tactical training in the times of civil unrest we've had. Also, if you just want elite achievement coaching as a small group, a Fortune 500 company, anywhere, anyhow, any place in the world. If you want to specifically do martial arts, you can check out dragonflyelite.com, dragonflyelite.com. But the centralized hub, the easiest spot to come check out what we call Team Elite, the people that want to become their best selves and defy the odds and be elite, is KennyBigbeeJr.com.
Yeah, and he's actually in his facility right behind him. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's downtown Plainfield, so go check it out. Just wanted to give you another shout out. I appreciate you for coming on here and sharing a part of your story. You know, we could have made this 5 hours because that's how we go. We go like long times without seeing each other, and we do. It's always like 3 to 5 hours. You already know
Yeah,
that.
for sure. No doubt. Yeah. And again, the honor and the privilege was mine. Thanks for even considering me for this. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, check him out. He's amazing. He's exactly who he is on here all the time. I mean, I've probably seen a little crazier side of you too. We all have. But I love you to death. I appreciate it. And guys, check out more and stay tuned. All right. Bye.